the USA in your Chevrolet. America's asking you to call. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all. On a highway or a road along a levee, performance is sweeter, nothing can beat her. Life is completer in
A few months after we made Scarlett Michaela's daily driver, she was leaving work on a slightly rainy day, so slippery roads, and she looked behind her, and there was a car coming up on her rather quickly, so she took what she felt was evasive action, and sadly that turned into a skid that sent Scarlett's driver front fender into a guardrail. As you can see, we put Scarlett in the garage, shoved her up against the wall, and just covered her up. And Michaela and I were both quite disappointed about this turn of events. So it sat for quite a while before we decided, well, let's see what we can do. What we did was get out a hydraulic ram and press out the dent as best we could in order to get the trunk to close and get the headlight bucket back on and a bumper back on, thinking, well, this will make it drivable. By the time we finished that, though, it was heading into late fall, early winter, so it made no sense to re-register the car for her to drive in the snow and ice. When the weather got nice enough in the early spring, I drove my truck up to the Corvair Ranch in Gettysburg, PA, and bought from Jeff there a front end off of a 64 and brought it home. We didn't need an entire front end, so I proceeded to, with Michaela's help, move the front clip piece, and we got out a Sawzall and a grinder and went at it. And finally, after a lot of cutting, we were left with at least enough to cover the patching.
So make a date today to see the USA. See it in your
Headlight bucket is off, bumper is off. Wires are pulled out of the way. First thing I'm going to do is cut that seam all the way through to and then cut up here, and that will break the front fender from the front panel. And this goes down. It's already busted down there, so that's what we'll do first. After a lot of cutting, and maybe a little bit too much cutting, as you'll hear in the subsequent clip, we're at a point where the wrinkled metal was gone. I need to re-weld that slit that I put across there and possibly even over there, because I ended up, the way it, here, I'll show you, the way this is built, there is a boxed section in here. We actually have two pieces of metal coming across. So I discovered that after I'd cut that hole. So now I'm going to go back and re-mig the joint back together. Before I weld, I need to clean the paint off.
traveling east, traveling west, wherever you go, Chevy service.
I'll bring you back when I'm ready to start the welding. To start over here, I need to pry that out flush and then tack it so that it is flush with the face there. I tried using magnets, but they're not strong enough to pull it out as far as it needs to go. Safety first. For some reason, shut off. But I've started tacking in, and we'll just continue to work our way around. Stitch welding is done. Now I'm going to go back and use a flapper wheel to, I think that's what this is called, and grind some of the welds down flat.
Southward or north, near place or far, there's a Chevrolet dealer for your Chevrolet car.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. The Rockies way out west are calling you. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA, where fields of golden wheat pass and review. Whether traveling light or with a load that's heavy, performance is sweeter, nothing can beat her. Life is completer in a Chevy. So make a date today to see the USA. And see.
Just a whole lot more of that. Now we've got pretty smooth. There's some holes that will get filled with some Bondo. So now what I want to do is mount the bumper so that I can see if this mounting point here is pushed in, which I think it is. Before I cut it off, I want to see if I can straighten it. Bumper's bolted on, and I don't know if you can see down in there, not a lot of gap, which tells me it has not been pushed in that far. It may be up a little bit, but I'm going to straighten this area out here, the hammer and dolly, and then see how much down pounding I need to do to get it to align. Hopefully by straightening this out in here, it'll push it somewhat this way, get it close. Now once I get this, then that will allow me to remove the bumper again and then start fitting the panel around these open edges. Trimming's done to the best of my abilities. I'll have to fill those gaps with weld. And then the other joint is across the front. And it's close up there. Maybe not so close down there, but there's still some massaging. I can't close the trunk all the way, but you can see that the gap is running pretty true. So I will put some stitches in there, some tacks, probably down there, and then right across at the top here, and then pull the clips out there and there, and then it'll allow me to, I'll probably also go ahead and right about there put a tack. I'm not really worried about how this looks down in there. That's all going to be hidden by the bumper and under the bumper, and that's just going to be what it's going to be. Got some tacks in. The hood is shut. And I'm pretty happy with that shut line. I'm pretty happy with the line up there. And got tacks all along there. I'll fill in. This is going to take some work to get it to line up on each of those creases, but the hard part I think is done. Welding's done, grinding's done. Things are masked. We're going to shoot all across, I'm going to shoot all across the front, selectively in the trunk across this entire front fender, and that should be what's necessary to then begin the application of filler to smooth things out in the end. All set to lay down the final coat of epoxy primer. We've done all the body work. Wiped it all down. So once the temperature gets up a little bit more, I'll turn off the heaters and be ready to go. Well, the temperature got up enough that I could shoot the primer, the high build primer, 3 coats on there. Let it cure overnight, hopefully warm enough tomorrow to wet sand it, then let it spend another night drying before shooting on either Wednesday or Thursday. Everything's been cleaned off. Masking paper where it needs to be. Try to keep the red out of the trunk. We're going to shoot some color.
In your Chevrolet, America's asking you to call. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all. On a highway or a road along a levee, perform